most of my life. Born and raised in New York City, joined the United States Navy, left New York City, traveled the world, and then touched down to Virginia. That's where I met my wife, and we had all our babies, and then we moved here. Currently an empty nester. My youngest just left to go to Morehouse, so really, happy, excited, but also, being a dad is something that I always wanted to be ever since I was young. So, just like the brother was talking about earlier, I remember a time when, having knowledge of self was hit, right? I remember I went to school in Harlem. So I remember even girls wouldn't date you if you didn't have knowledge of self. Like, they would be like, you don't know who Marcus Garvey is, you know who Elijah Muhammad is, we can't go out on a date. That's the era that I came from, right? Where we was always doing ciphers. We always, really to this day in my house, we still do ciphers, right? I still teach my babies the supreme mathematics, the supreme alphabet, and some of my students might get that opportunity. So I've been doing that pretty much all my life, doing work, just in the community. So pretty much community work has been in my DNA. That's something that my mom instilled in us very young. We grew up in the projects, Chase Monroe houses in the Bronx. People used to call it Vietnam because it was that dangerous. And I remember like Jamel Shabazz says, a time before crack, right? So I remember there was a time when you can hang out late, and if you was doing something wrong and the neighbor saw you, you was in trouble, right? As soon as you got home, you was in trouble. So I remember when it went from that to, 14-year-olds having AK-47s. I remember that happening just like that. I remember a time when if you brought a knife to school, everybody thought you was nuts, right? But now we're worried about, now we have a situation where people will bring guns to school. So I saw that happen overnight. So crack cocaine, it brought the drug addiction and the abuse, but it also brought a lot of gun violence to our communities. And I remember when it was in the thousands, right? When it was like 10 cities, New York, Cleveland, all of them were, 2,500 murders per year. So I had a lot of homies and relatives that are dead or in prison. Some people who have been, crack cocaine apprentices since the 80s and they're still locked up. I have friends that I will never see again because they'll never leave, the prison. So it's been rough. So that's actually one bit of trauma, right? My folks come from the Dominican Republic, so I'm a child of immigrants and also a child of colonialism, a child of anti-blackness, a child of abuse, violence, all those things that come with that when it comes to colonialism, especially when it invades our communities. So domestic violence is something that I'm very used to and seeing. Alcoholism is something that I'm very used to and seeing around me growing up. And it had a profound impact in my life. So I thank the young brothers and sisters that gave me knowledge of myself, because really, like you were saying, when I look at all my homies who were bigger, stronger, smarter, faster than me in all ways, the difference really what made me come out, it was two things. It was my mom and my extended family, but also reading. The love of reading is really what got me out of there. And to this day, my mother jokes me all the time because I'm always reading. When I get up in the morning, I'm always reading. I'm on the toilet, I'm reading. When I'm at the bank, I had a student tell me, this is what I drink. I saw you at Sharks, reading a book. And I was like, oh, you did? I was like, I don't remember being at Sharks, but I guess, right? So, that's what they know me for. So, but also breakdancing has taught me that, and yes, I still breakdance. It has taught me that my duty is to create safer spaces for our boys. And that's something that I've been doing pretty much informally and formally, always creating safer spaces. And capoeira as well. Capoeira has taught me that I need to bring those ciphers, and we call them holdouts or circles. Ciphers also circle, right? We need to bring those to the community. And that's something I've always done in my house, outside of my house. So I teach capoeira for free. I teach breakdancing for free for whoever wants to know, because I was taught for free. So, and I remember it was the young brothers, when I was coming up in the hood, it was the older cats that were teaching me how to fight. They taught me martial arts at a very young age. So I thought that it only makes sense for me to do the same thing. I would do them a disservice if I charged people for that. So, raising a family, again, it's something I've always wanted to do, and it's not easy, right? It's really not easy. There's a movie called what's it called? The Mevers Boys. It stars, I can't remember her name. But anyway, it's about the Tuskegee experiment, right? And we know what happened in the Tuskegee experiment, right? They took a lot of brothers and they had syphilis and they didn't treat them. And there's a scene where Lawrence Fishburne's character leaves, he joins the army, he comes back and he's cured from syphilis. And they're like, well, what did you do? He said, when I joined the army, they gave me this pill and I was good. But that scene always struck me because one thing I've learned about this community work is that if we have all this trauma, the only way we're going to fix it is in community healing. I have a therapist. I'll go see my therapist. I have a group of brothers and sisters that always have my back. So I had that community, but my community is not healing. So does that really matter if I'm healed and my community isn't healed? It doesn't. It doesn't work that way, right? we're not going to cure a community if just one person's healed. So we have to bring everybody into the community. So my solution has always been that we have to do the tailoring in the community. Thank you.